Hi, I'm Jordan Trippeer, and I'm a writer. I came to the ISA development slate a little bit differently from other writers. I was a reader for ISA for a number of years, and as a reader, I couldn't submit to their contests. So instead, I submitted to a bunch of other contests and placed really high in those. And then when I was promoted to senior contest manager and started working more closely with the development team here, Jaron Lauder, who's a fantastic writer-director in his own right, started reading my material and championed me to the development team. And I became a top 25 screenwriter to watch in 2021. It happened in stages. I wanted to be a storyteller, I think, probably from the time I was born. I just didn't know it yet. When I was 5, I actually in kindergarten wrote a book, one of those little like spiral notebooky kind of things that they laminated and gave back to you. And I read it recently, and it's basically the life of Pi, except that I ended up staying on the island with all the animals and just lived happily ever after with them. And so it was always sort of there. And then when I was 11, I went to see Steven Spielberg's artificial intelligence, AI. And that was the first time I realized, I was like, oh, someone has to write this. It doesn't just, it doesn't just magically exist. Someone has to build this. And I came home, and it was the first non-toy I ever asked my parents for was Movie Magic Screenwriter software. And I went into my little basement and I wrote my first feature. And because I didn't know how to use the software yet, and it wasn't intuitive yet, I actually ended up writing it. I had the software, but I ended up writing it in a spiral notebook, a college ruled notebook. And it was about a girl who loses her family in a car wreck, but then wakes up with the ability to heal other people. However, every time she heals someone, it takes a little piece of her away. And so when I wrote it, I was just like, this is magic. This is everything I ever dreamed of. I could be anything. I can do anything. I can be anyone. And it only got worse from there. My parents had $100 between them when they got married. They had to sleep in a tent for the first 3 weeks. They moved to Denver, Colorado, where I was born, before they got jobs. So they very much encouraged a pragmatic approach to life. They were like, writing's great, have that as a hobby, go be a doctor. And I was pre-med in college, and it was okay, but I constantly found myself going, oh, I've studied enough, now I can write. And I would spend all my time writing. And unfortunately, what ended up happening was my best friend passed away suddenly. And when she died, she was the craziest person I've ever met. She was the most wonderful Technicolor weirdo I've ever met. And the first day I met her, she slapped her mother in the face. She was 5 years old. And I just remember going, this is my best friend. I don't know why. I was just like, this is my best friend. I'm so lucky. This is going to be wonderful. And when she unfortunately died, I was like, oh, I can't do something that I'm not really passionate about. It wouldn't work. It would be such an enormous waste of time. That's not true for everyone, but for me it was. And so I ended up switching majors to journalism, became my school's videographer and film critic. And after college, I moved to Australia for a few months, worked for a chocolatier and wrote half a novel. And then I came back and I was like, let's just see if there's something here. And I applied to USC. And I got in, and that was the beginning of this weird odyssey. Well, they didn't tell me, actually. I just noticed my name on the list, and I was like, oh, I guess, is this real? I reached out to, the team, and I was like, is this real? Are you letting me be on this thing? And they said, yes, absolutely. We would love to have you there. You've done enough for sure to get there. And it felt very validating because I couldn't take advantage of the ISA's really cool pool of resources. I had to kind of get there myself. And I don't know, I was very flattered. If I could speak to my younger self right now, and I'm either my 12-year-old self when I just started writing or my 20-year-old self when I just lost my best friend. I think I would tell my younger self to stop believing in fate. And this is a really weird one, I guess. I love Disney. I grew up on Disney. I would love to write for Disney. They have some amazing properties. But they kind of instill you with this concept of fate very young. And unfortunately, fate is a trap, as far as I've found. It stops you from being active and proactive in your life as you go after what you want. And I don't know about anyone else, but for me, the most frustrating thing is that this is an industry that constantly demands that you ask for permission to be what you already are, which is creative. And that can be incredibly terrible for your self-esteem, where you're sitting there going, I'm doing all these things that I've always been doing, the people have loved that I've done, but this one entity won't accept me, or it's taking much longer than I thought it would. There must be something wrong with me. And the reality is that as you're waiting for something to happen, you are building a vacuum in your life where you could be making stuff happen every day. And more importantly, if it's not going to happen, you want to be driving your life forward anyway. Like, you don't want to just end up adrift at sea. You want to be building a raft. You want to be finding an island. You want to be doing these things that at the end of the day make your life fuller and richer. I live by the old Federico Fellini quote, you have to live spherically in many directions at once, right? So to me, that's why I'm constantly working on multiple projects. Or I have plans later this year to start learning violin as an adult. Why not? Because it's something I've always wanted to do, but I kept putting it off because I kept prioritizing work to the detriment of everything else. And to bring it back to fate, I think fate unfortunately becomes this thing that holds you back. It just, you keep hoping, and hope can become a poison if it's not paired with action. My career goals in the next 2 years really boil down to a couple of things. I want a staff writing job on a television show or an open writing assignment. I mean, those are kind of, they'll go forever. They'll constantly reoccur as I move forward. But they're important to me now because I have other goals beyond screenwriting that I would like to manifest. But I'm also working on a novel. I'm working on a blog, a travel blog called featsofwonder.com. And I also have plans to sort of do a companion channel on YouTube for that blog that'll feature sort of tours of places that most people have never been and may never visit, as an opportunity for people to wander the streets of far-flung places. So it's part of that whole living spherically thing. I pretty much want every experience I can have. So I'm very much a yes person, where it's like, oh, that's something new, that's something exciting, I want to do it. Creatively, I want to publish a novel in the next year, and then I would like to set up my blog, set up my channel, and start working on a graphic novel that I've had in my mind for a while. So layer another cliche on. I love the Dolly Parton quote, figure out who you are and do it on purpose. Like, I think that's the secret to life, is that, you can't let life dictate who you are. It's too much of a bruiser. It's too cruel. You know what I mean? Like, if you let it, it will tear your heart out. And there's no, why? Don't let it. It doesn't deserve it. It hasn't earned that spot, More importantly, you are the master of your own life. You are entirely capable of what you want to do and be. The only rule I have for existence is don't harm other people. As long as you're not harming anyone else, go be that weird guy in the woods who has a squirrel army. You know what I mean? Go become the first woman to jump out of an airplane at, space level, whatever it is, whatever you want to wear a suit, don't die. But like whatever you want to be, it's really about making a plan, not waiting for fate to get around to giving that stuff to you, and doing it for yourself, because you're going to be so much prouder